The first round of the Ginetta GT Academy is about to burst into life here at Oulton Park. The cars are making their way round onto the grid, and it is last year's rookie champion Ravi Ramid who will start on pole position. The GT Academy is a concept that provides drivers a very rapid GT car. It's a sort of GT4 style car, if you like, and it also caters for drivers of differing levels of experience with a rookie class as well. This is the third year of the championship, its second ever visit to Oulton Park. The rookie class very much for the novice drivers, and it's a service that offers their cars preparation by the 1-2 race team. The car that they use is the Ginetta G56 GTA, derived from one of the most successful GT4 chassis ever built. These cars with Ford V6 engines. They have a 270 brake horsepower output. They have a top speed of 140 miles an hour. We're looking at about 3.7 litres. And to the grid they come. Now, Ravi Ramid, although he is last year's rookie champion, he's actually pretty experienced, because a good few years ago he was a regular front runner in the BMW production championship for the old 3 Series BMs, so he must start really as one of the favourites again for an outright win. He qualified on pole position this morning in the qualifying session and thus gains a point for pole. So he will line up, as you see, on the front of this 1x1 staggered grid, and with him at the front of the grid is going to be Nick White, who is another rapid driver, ex-Renault Clio racer, and Nick White possibly the best placed to take the battle then to the pole man Ravi Ramid. On the second row of the grid, number 20 is Ed Akers for Nathan Freak's Century Motorsport team. They've had that lap, or that half lap in fact, through the Foster's loop round to the grid. This is the green flag lap about to get underway, so this is the one full lap to get some warmth into the tyres. It's a Michelin road tyre on which they run. There is Ravi Ramid nearest to us. Ed Akers in the very orange Ginetta car, sort of works livery behind him. Matt Shaw, fourth on the grid, the man from Blackpool. Retired from business these days, but a keen racing enthusiast. And as he says, with more time on our hands, I thought I'd give motorsport a go, having always fancied it. He was a professional footballer before he set up his business, and then that was sold in 2020. So Matt, now with time on his hands, can indulge himself in motor racing. Fourth on the grid, he is. Fifth on the grid, number 56, James Taylor. Number 70 there, you can see. At the back of the grid is Mackenzie Walker. Now, there's a saga attached to Mackenzie because in qualifying this morning, every lap that he did was removed for track limit offences. The green flag is now being waved, so the green flag lap is about to get underway as the cars blast away. So we don't really know the true pace of Mackenzie Walker. As I say, every lap time taken away from him because he'd exceeded track limits. Now we've got two cars that are stranded, and I think one of them is Matt Shaw, isn't it, number 33, and that means that Tom Shelley behind him can't get going. The pair are away now, but if you're the last cars away and everybody has gone past you, you should start at the back of the grid. And the man that caused the hold-up isn't the last man away, because he was the roadblock for Tom Shelley. So they should now start at the back of the grid. As I say, if everybody has gone past you, then you must start at the back. But let's see whether they hold station. We'll get the message in a moment or two. But yes, Matt Shaw, by being the cork in the bottle, has therefore prevented himself dropping to the back, because Thomas Shelley should be even further behind or alongside. Let's look at the grid before that drama. Ravi Ramid on the front row with Nick White for company. Century and Raceway Motorsport, the two teams running those cars, ahead of Ed Akers. And then Matt Shaw's 1-2 race entry, as I say, now should be dropping to the back, although I don't think he is doing, though. He's working his way through the traffic. Oh dear. James Taylor 5th, Thomas Shelley lining up 6th on the grid, ahead of John Carney 7th, and Mark Ellman for SVG rounding out the top 8 on the grid. 9th is Emma Tomlinson, one of Lawrence Tomlinson's daughters, the Ginetta owner. Richard Just will start 10th on the grid, another of the 1-2 race entries. Amy Tomlinson next, and Charlotte Lowe alongside. And then there is going to be Phil McGarty, regular in Ginetta's over the last few seasons, and Lucy Tomlinson, with Mackenzie Walker rounding out the way the grid was initially formed. But Matt Shaw and Tom Shelley working their way together through the traffic, but I'm still a bit fearful about all of this. Novice cross, as you can see on the back of Matt Shaw's car. So he's had one track day with the DTO organisation prior to getting on board with this championship, and as I say, looking for a new challenge. There is Thomas Shelley, number 76 in the Century Motorsport car. Century, the Nathan Freak-owned team that's busy here this weekend, not just in Ginetta's, but also in the British GT Championship. And so now as the cars turn their way out of Lodge Corner, Matt Shaw, Tom Shelley set to regain their grid positions, but that might be a rather short-lived return to the front of the grid. So into position they will slot. And no doubt race control are having a look at that as the field puts itself into place. Mackenzie Walker then from the rear of the grid. He's done some Lotus Elite racing, he's done some Radical racing, so he's got the experience to make progress from the back there, as long as he stays within the track limits. But having lost every lap time and being therefore condemned to the back of the grid, the message should have well and truly got home. This is a 20-minute race. The green flag shown by the marshal at the back, saying that everybody has returned from the warming up lap. The drivers now look towards the light, which go red. Engine notes rise, the lights will go out now to get the season underway. Ravi Ramyid makes a good start then from pole position, and again Matt Shaw bogs down, lots of wheel spin, gets sideways, loses places, and as they dive down towards Old Hall Corner for the first time, Ramyid and White already long gone as far as Ed Akers in third place is concerned. Matt Shaw, number 33, around the outside, trying to fight back as the two leaders dive down through Denton's. Ravi Ramyid then up front, but he has got Nick White right behind him in the Raceway Motorsport car. They drop down through Cascades for the first time onto Lakeside Straight. 99 goes through. Richard Just, one of the many want to race, and that is Ravi Ramyid, is it not, who has got it wrong coming out of Cascades? It is. The pole position man spins away the race lead, and now he has just turned this race upside down because he's given himself a lot of work to do, but also he is going to give us a very good race to watch to see what progress can be made. So Ravi Ramyid spins away the advantage, drops to the back of the pack, and we'll have to do it all over again. So, slightly delayed in avoidance, Nick White leads the way, but he's got Ed Akers right with him. Now, when we last saw the cars, a gap had opened up between the top two and the rest. No gap now as they come out of Britain's up towards Hilltop. Charlotte Lowe goes through, Charlotte number 7 over the brow. And for the race lead, Ed Akers looking as though he is about to make a move for the race lead. Thought about it on the inside line. There, hustling on and making good progress, Mackenzie Walker, the Assetto Racing entry. And let's have a look at what happened to Ravi Ramyid then on that opening lap. So coming out of Cascade, cold tyres, bit too much throttle, round goes the back, off onto the grass he goes.
Leader spun, leader spun.
So there's the cars come then out of Druids. It is 57. Nick White then second on the grid, leading the way. Ed Akers, number 20, tucked up behind him in the Century Motorsport car. So Raceway versus Century as they come down towards Lodge for the first time then. Turn right, the road drops away, climb out of Deer Leap up towards the end of lap 1. 20 minutes of racing. And Nick White leads the way, but he's not pulling clear for the moment. Ed Akers is in second place. Third as they come across the line is 56, James Taylor. Late entry to the race. In fourth place then it is Tom Shelley, and there Matt Shaw round the outside. Mackenzie Walker, a little nudge between the two of them. Mackenzie Walker up from the back of the grid then, makes his move and goes through on the inside heading down towards Denton's. So the race leaders along Lakeside Straight. The gap at the end of the opening lap, just under 0.4 of a second. 88 through there, you can see, is Mark Ellman in the SVG Motorsport entry. Bear in mind that many of these drivers are very limited experience, and Oulton Park is a pretty demanding circuit, so they're learning and learning fast. Ravi Ramyid, 13th out of the 15, and time penalties are being offered not to 33 Matt Shaw. There is one to Thomas Shelley. He's been given a 10-second penalty. There is also a 10-second penalty going the way of Ed Akers, and also to 47, Emma Tomlinson. Now that I suspect in those cases for being out of position at the start, but Matt Shaw seems to have escaped for his offence. That was Charlotte Lowe's car that had spun. Ravi Ramyid goes through, coming then out of Knickerbrook Corner now through the right-hander. And so Nick White leading the way, Ed Akers close, but with a 10-second penalty to be added, that means that the gap in real terms is a huge one. Number 70, Mackenzie Walker, goes through. Now, he was running 7th on the road at the start of the lap. There's further progress to be made, and he can gain out of the penalties that are being applied to others. Leaders out of Lodge, up Deer Leap, over the timing line there. goes the green and yellow car of Tom Shelley, who is closing up onto the back of James Taylor, but not quite close enough to make a dive going into Old Hall corner. Out of Cascades turn the leaders, and Mackenzie Walker, number 70, then wriggling his way past Matt Shaw. He's now on the back of the Raceway Motorsport car of John Carney. Almost at the end of the first 5 minutes of the race, and Nick White's advantage on the road, 6/10. But I think Mackenzie Walker is going to be the man to watch out of all of this. He has wriggled his way up the order, but for the moment unable to do very much more about the cars ahead then, as they swing their way up now through the right-hander of Shell Oil's corner, back onto the power once again. So Walker making progress. He was 6th over the line, having started 15th. And he ain't done yet. As I say, more places to be gained on the road, and on the corrected times he can gain further progress before the end of the race. Makes his move there, look, against John Carney coming out of the Britain's chicane, goes to the inside down towards Hislops, got the door closed well and truly in his face there. So Carney under attack, a bit nervous as he comes through Hislops, understandably, with Walker bearing down on him. Back onto the power now as the cars climb the hill, up Clay Hill. The regular landmark bridge, not there for the moment because that's gone away for refurbishment, and Clay Hill therefore looks very different indeed without the footbridge. In towards the double apex right of Druids then comes John Carney, and he makes the run now down towards Lodge corner. Now Tom Shelley there running 4th on the road. He's another one that's got a 10-second penalty. Of course, late race, when all these penalties are applied, it will have more of an impact. Then you'll start to see what the gaps are, where positions actually do fall. But, of course, if there were to be a safety car and they all bunch up, then 10 seconds are going to cost you more places because you've got more cars within that time bracket. Out of Old Hall corner then, race leader Nick White looking strong up front. He's getting away from Ed Akers anyway, irrespective of the fact that Akers has got this time penalty. Out of Cascades now, onto Lakeside Straight goes the fight for 3rd. James Taylor just ahead there, look, of Thomas Shelley. Shelley's pace is good, but up front, the race leader, Nick White, has done the fastest lap of the race, 1:51.137 now. Mackenzie Walker turns through. Matt Shaw heading the rookie class on the road. And actually, although he has fallen away from Mackenzie Walker, he is well clear of his class opposition. Ravi Ramid update after his spin from the lead. He is in 9th place. The driving standards flag now being offered up to the man in 2nd place, Edward Akers, as Tom Shelley has a look to the inside line, dropping down towards Hislops. Couldn't find a way through there, but applying the pressure all the time now to James Taylor in that 3rd place as the cars accelerate out of the right-hander of Knickerbrook, make the climb up the hill. And now Mackenzie Walker getting onto his toes to try to find a way past John Carney. Not quite able to do it, climbing the hill. Thinks about a move at Druids. Not on the outside, he won't. Not on the inside either. Not really a proper pass there. He's actually got a bit stuck because he has been behind Carney's very distinctive Dayglow and black car, Dayglow yellow and black car for a couple of laps now, and it means therefore that he's losing touch relative to those further up the road. Nick White pulling away in the race lead. Fastest lap of the race he has done as well. So the leaders go by. So Nick White leads Ed Akers, 1.3 seconds plus the 10. And a squeal of tyres as well going into Old Hall corner that time. In 3rd place, James Taylor ahead of another penalised man, Thomas Shelley. And there for 5th, John Carney just fending off Mackenzie Walker. Good effort this up from the back of the grid. But now, as I say, Walker has got a little bit stuck and he needs somehow to wriggle away up and past John Carney before the others get away by too much. So the race leaders then, currently on lap 5, and the lead gap 1.3 seconds last time around then as the field swings its way out of Island Bend, now up towards the Shell Oil's hairpin. So that's John Carney. He is running 5th on the road, 3rd in real terms, because with 2 drivers penalised ahead of him, that's going to give him a big advantage come the very end of this. Out of the Britain's chicane then come the race leaders, and there is Mackenzie Walker still stuck on the back of John Carney, nudging towards half distance, and try as he might, he's not really been able to find a way through. Good defensive drive this by Carney, and again, look, Walker goes one side, Carney moves across and defends. Walker edges towards the outside line as they drop down towards Hislops, into the right, into the left. And now back onto the power once more. Matt Shaw catching back up again here. Now Mackenzie Walker with a good exit from Nicker Brook actually has a problem because the car suddenly slows, and although the line looked good to make a move, it has slowed heading up the hill. It means Matt Shaw has got ahead of him. Mackenzie Walker is still going, but I fear he's bound for the pits because the pace looks like it's disappeared there. Like he's got a gearbox or a transmission problem. He pulls to one side knowing that he's in strife here. So the leader, which is Nick White, goes through, and who is that in drama coming out of Hislops? Amy Tomlinson, the Ginetta MD it is, who's had a big lose. Gets going again and rejoins. That is Mackenzie Walker from the back of the grid then into the pit lane. So Mackenzie Walker, after coming up from the rear of the grid, ends up as a retirement, and as the race leaders come through the 6th lap, the lead gap 1.8 seconds on the road. Then you add that 10-second penalty to Edward Akers, and it makes it an even bigger gap for Nick White. So out of Island Bend goes the on-the-road fight for 3rd, but again, it's a phony fight in a way because the second of the cars is another with a penalty. Mackenzie Walker having crawled to the pit lane, looking as though that's going to be the end of his race. Sadly, they get 2 more, which are on Monday. So for 3rd place then, down towards the Britain chicane, there you've got James Taylor keeping Thomas Shelley behind him. Onto the power once again. Over hilltop they come. And lap 6 we work into the second half of the race. The previous 2 races that we've had at Oulton today both ended under a red flag, so fingers crossed we can get away without such dramas here. Matt Shaw then, having gained a place with the demise of Mackenzie Walker, getting himself back into the mix, closing now onto the tail of John Carney, and off the road has gone Emma Tomlinson. So that was a car that had already got a time penalty for its out of position start, and oops, finds the barrier and doesn't help the rear wing as Emma tries to get back onto the circuit and does so, but further delayed. Down towards Lodge then. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th on the road, all starting to bunch up a little bit now. So Taylor, Shelley, Carney and Matt Shaw behind. Ravi Ramyeed, incidentally, is not really making the progress that one might have expected. He's still mired down in 8th place, so he got through some of the traffic pretty well early on, but is now rather plateaued. That's John Carney going through Old Hall, and this is what happened to number 47 of Emma Tomlinson, coming out of Hislops, a bit too much throttle, a bit too soon, having caught Richard Just, and off the road she slides. So no real harm done, and of course, as we've been saying, many of the drivers rookies, so it's all part of that learning experience. And these are big, powerful cars anyway, so rear-wheel drive, lots of horsepower, and we want 270 on tap, especially on a difficult circuit like this. It's no wonder that 1 or 2 are having the occasional indiscretion. So race leaders work lap 7, and it looks as though this is going to be a maiden win of the season for Nick White, the Raceway Motorsport car. And although the academy is meant to be for inexperienced drivers, in many cases it's those that have had a few years away and have come back into the sport, like Ramyeed did when he picked up this championship. And Ravi Ramyeed now, look, he's getting himself onto the back of Mark Ellman. There is Ravi Ramyeed. And Matt Shaw makes a move on the inside of John Carney. It doesn't work, but just as Mackenzie Walker was finding earlier on, so John Carney is not an easy man to overtake. Mark Ellman through on his own because Ravi Ramyeed takes to the grass coming into Hislops. They were together when we last saw them. Ravi Ramyeed is having a rather checkered race here, so he's completely undone all the good work of pole position, and last year's rookie champion battles on, albeit further delayed. 7 minutes of the race to go now. Down they come towards Lodge Corner. What you're looking at on the road is for 3rd place. It's still Nick White and Ed Akers ahead. Explanation of Ravi Ramyeed's dramas. Well, he went through and got the place, but just could not slow down in time. Toboggans his way across the grass, scoops a load of it up at the front, and rejoins behind. So 1 up and 1 back in quick succession for Ravi Ramyeed, and so he comes across the timing line in 8th place, having to do the work all over again. Now, John Carney, running 5th on the road, set now to benefit by certainly 1, possibly 2 places here. Two of them ahead, remember, have got this time penalty. Having said all of that, Ed Akers, who is one of the penalised drivers, is 9.7 seconds ahead of James Taylor now. He's very nearly managed to get out of range as far as Taylor is concerned. So a little bit more of a push by Ed Akers, and he will be able to cement that second place. John Carney, therefore, will be able to benefit from Thomas Shelley's dramas, which, again, are a time penalty. One assumes for an out-of-position start, but Ed Akers being able to drive pretty much around his problem now with just under 6 minutes to go, that problem being 10 seconds to be added in at the end. Ravi Ramyi does it again, but this time gets the car slowed down and makes the corner heading into Hislops. So he's done it. He's got 7th place. Tried and failed a lap ago. Tried and succeeded this time around. So Ravi Ramyi then does gain a place, and he has also done the fastest lap of the race. Through goes 56 then, which is James Taylor. And behind him, the rather more colourful car of the penalised Thomas Shelley. Behind him is John Carney, who's certainly going to gain 1 place, but if these two could find a bit more pace and therefore get within the 10 seconds again of Ed Akers, it might help all involved. Up Deer Leap they come as the clock ticks on down into the final 5 minutes. Leaders go by, and Matt Shaw, after his slow start, also picking up the pace now, getting a bit more confident. And although he lost a little bit of ground last time, his lap times in the main, certainly his best lap time, on a par with those around him. Down towards Cascades then once again comes the 3rd placed James Taylor. And Thomas Shelley close, but not close enough to make a move. John Carney not close enough either. And there in problems now is Richard Just, who is trying to get the car back to the pits, but almost like it's bump starting itself there. You can see it lurch as he tries to either fire it up or get a gear, but that's another car I'm assuming is bound for the pits and retirement. A little bit of a tail wag there from John Carney coming out of Shell Oil's corner. That brings Matt Shaw even closer then in the turquoise livery. Tries to go around the outside, approaching Britons. That was never on, so he slots back in behind. Into the final 4 minutes then of the race as they come over Hilltop, then down towards Hislops. And the gap has come down, you can see, between James Taylor and then there in the green and yellow car, Tom Shelley, as the next pair also with less gap between them. Carney versus Shaw. Now, what about Ravi Ramyi behind? He's 6 seconds back. I don't think he's going to make that up before the end. 3.5 minutes to go, but he's still pushing. And Thomas Shelley is having a good go, as you can see, to try to take 3rd place away from James Taylor. Out of Druids, then they come through the double apex right. Speed builds over the little brow, drop down, then rise again, down towards Lodge Corner. And onto the grass with 2 wheels there goes Thomas Shelley. He sorts out the slide, but it got a bit leery for a moment. Hangs onto it, comes up then now towards the timing line, but oh so close to really running the gauntlet there. Thomas Shelley, he has lost, what, about 0.4 of a second, but it could have been a whole lot worse for him as the cars then again dive down towards Old Hall. 2 3/4 minutes to go. A flying lap is just under the 2-minute mark. Out of Cascades they will turn in a moment. This is still the 3rd placed fight. Remember that way up the road is the rather dominant Nick White from 2nd on the grid. Edward Akers 1.9 seconds behind, but 11 seconds clear of the rest. So if you apply his 10-second penalty, it doesn't matter now. He's still going to hang on to 2nd spot. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Gaps have opened up a little bit this time, but they should be able to squeeze 1 more lap out of the race at the end of this, because the race leader is on his way then out of Britons up towards Hilltop. Gap down again for 5th. Carney versus Shaw. Neither of these have a penalty as well, so it's a genuine fight for position, this, as they come up towards Hilltop. This is not a genuine fight, because although Nick White is ahead, the car behind him, sorry, not Nick White, James Taylor, I should say, ahead, he's okay. The man behind him, Thomas Shelley, has got a 10-second penalty, so they're close, but that's not really going to change for the good. That is the race leader. Nick White has rather dominated this, and he continues to build that advantage over Ed Akers behind him. We have got less than a lap time left in the race now, so it's going to be the last lap this time around for Nick White. The Asset Advantage car comes out of Lodge Corner, heads up Deer Leap. There'll be 1 to go for him as he blasts up towards the timing line. He's kept out of trouble. He's been steadily able to edge away from Ed Akers. Into Old Hall they go, hit the brakes, the nose drags on the ground, and Ed Akers swings right out of Old Hall, looking, although he's 2 seconds back, as though he is going to be good to hang on to second place, even with that penalty applied. It's a long, long wait for anybody to be third. Finally through comes James Taylor. He's got the penalised Shelley behind him, and then John Carney keeping Matt Shaw at bay. And Shaw, in turn, has dropped back a little bit, so having been right on the tail a lap ago, he's fallen away. Now, 25, John Carney being given a 5-second penalty. That, I suspect, is track limit offences. Still, Matt Shaw given nothing for not starting at the back of the grid, so he has got away very, very lightly indeed there. Whoever he wants to buy a drink for at the end of the race, I would advise him to do it. Out of Shell Oil's corner comes John Carney then. So 5 seconds will drop him behind Mark Shaw. So a place is to be gained for Shaw. So of all the people he might have expected to be given a penalty, given what happened on the formation lap, he's going to be a beneficiary of others. Out of Hislops into Knickerbrook then comes Nick White, and a race win looms for him, doesn't it, as he climbs the hill. This the last lap, because the clock has now hit 0. Ed Akers second on the road, but he won't be able to think about making a move for the lead. He's too far back, plus the penalty, but he will hang on to second, barring a mistake with these last couple of corners coming up. Down towards Lodge comes the leader, soon to become the race winner. And so Nick White, the former Clio racer in the Raceway Motorsport entry, turns now into Lodge corner, accelerates his way up Deer Leap. Checkered flag is at the ready, and honours in the opening Ginetta GT Academy race of the season go to Nick White. He takes the checkered flag, the winner, and Akers takes second, albeit with a 10-second penalty to be applied. But where does third place James Taylor finish in terms of a gap? He's coming up towards the timing line now, and the margin on the road between second and third is enough for Ed Akers to hang on to his second place. So a very good win for Nick White. Third goes the way of James Taylor. Fourth, Matt Shaw, pretty remarkably in a way. Ravi Ramyeed fifth, equally remarkable after his excursions. Sixth, John Carney with a penalty. Seventh, Thomas Shelley with a penalty. And then eighth, Mark Ellman. Ninth should go the way of Phil McGarty here, 81. But he is battling, as you can see, with Emma Tomlinson. Matt Shaw, incidentally, the winning rookie. Second of the rookies, Emma Tomlinson. Third of the rookies is Amy Tomlinson as they come now through Lodge corner. So Phil McGarty accelerates his way out of Deer Leap, and he will hang on to 9th place. And 10th, also with a penalty, is Emma Tomlinson. So a very good win for Nick White. 12.2 seconds. Doesn't really tell you the whole story, because 10 of those were a penalty. But even so, he was never really troubled once Ravi Ramyeed had spun himself out of the lead on the opening lap. Ravi Ramyeed, in the end, 5th, and with the fastest lap of the race to his name, but no doubt frustrated that it wasn't the great start to the season that he was rather hoping for. Lucy Tomlinson has just finished, and Charlotte Lowe will do so behind. The ones that we lost were Richard Just and Mackenzie Walker, both with mechanical dramas. That's the rookie winner, Matt Shaw. So first race, and although he rather fluffed the start, it's a class win at least for him. So the race winner, Nick White, for the Raceway Motorsport team, will bring the cars towards Parc Fermé. Ed Akers second, and in the end that penalty didn't really matter too much. Ravi Ramyeed, as I said, got the fastest lap, and it's going to be fascinating to see what he does in the second race of the weekend to try to make amends, if you like, after the dramas that he has had in the first. The way that the second race will bear out is that the grid is on the second fastest qualifying time, and it's the result of race 2 that gives you the grid for race 3, and those 2 races will be on Easter Monday. No track activity Easter Sunday at Oulton Park. So the result confirms the win for Nick White from Ed Akers, and then in third place James Taylor. Fourth for Matt Shaw, who wins the rookie class ahead of Ravi Ramyeed. Fifth, and John Carney in 6th. 7th to Thomas Shelley from Mark Ellman, Phil McGarty, and the top 10 rounded out by Emma Tomlinson. 11th to Amy Tomlinson, 12th Lucy Tomlinson, ahead of Charlotte Lowe, with Richard Just and Mackenzie Walker being the two retirements. So the drivers arrive in Parc Fermé. There will then be a chance to talk to the team, and eventually they will head towards the podium, where a very happy Nick White will start to celebrate before more Ginettas head to the circuit in the course of the British GT qualifying session, which is underway in about 4 minutes' time. Let's look at the highlights then of the race, which had that wheel-spinning start for Matt Shaw. He lost ground on the run down towards Old Hall. Ravi Ramyid on the inside line grabbed the advantage from Nick White, but it wasn't long before Ravi Ramyid put himself in bother, because coming out of Cascades, he got it wrong, ran wide, and had this big spin that dropped him to last place. He was able to rejoin and battle his way back up into 5th spot as Mackenzie Walker was making progress up from the back of the grid. A little rub with Matt Shaw, but ultimately Walker's car would have a mechanical problem and retire to the pit lane. The first of the Tomlinson spins coming out of Britain's. We'd already had a drama for Charlotte Lowe. Ravi Ramyid ran out of room coming through Hislops and took to the grass triangle in the middle, but was able to rejoin. A lap later, he made that move stick. Matt Shaw put himself into the lead of the rookie class and was on target for the win, as through Druid's corner and down towards Lodge, looking oh so secure up front, was Nick White, who was on target for the race win. Nick White's the winner of the first Ginetta GT Academy race of the season. So the drivers making their way to the podium. They'll be there hopefully very shortly. Marshals making sure that there's nothing left on the road, and equally, because there's no bridge at the top of Clay Hill at the moment, acting as crossing attendants to let people make their way across the circuit. A wildlife getting a great view of Oulton Park as well, as the GT teams prepare themselves in the pit lane, GT3 and GT4, and of course Ginetta representation in the GT4 class of the British GT Championship as well. So very shortly, the top 3 drivers from the 2 classes will be at the podium. So the podium beckons, but whether we get a chance to see that, because as I say, qualifying is imminent, we'll have to wait and see. But an excellent effort that by Nick White, dominant up front. Had Ravi Ramyid not had his spin, it would have been a very different story, I'm sure. But Nick White will take the win, he'll take the points. We're pretty happy about that. Goes into Monday's racing in a very strong position. So the Ginetta Championships that have been a mainstay in the main of TOCA, certainly the Junior Championship, but the GT Academy raced with both SRO and TOCA last year. All of the Ginetta series coming across to the British GT package for this season, and giving a good account of themselves thus far. The junior race, although it was stopped with a red flag, was very lively, and some interesting racing we've just had in the GT Academy opener as well. Oulton Park having its first major event of the season. Club racing was here a week ago, but glorious weather today. Monday's not meant to be quite so dry, but many of the Oulton Park fans taking this as an opportunity for a good weekend of racing, and lots of people camping, as you can see at the exit of Old Hall at the top of the avenue there. And they will no doubt enjoy some excellent racing today, although it's qualifying next, and then the activity on Monday all around racing. So the next activity at Oulton Park, as I say, is GT qualifying. We've got the winning drivers, one hopes, being brought to the podium, and more from Ginetta to come on Monday, as I say. We've got one further championship, though, to look forward to later on, the Pro Tire Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. That will have its first race at the end of the day. And that's another busy grid of cars. So we'll look forward to that later on in the day as well. Nick White then victorious in our opening Ginetta GT Academy race. And I think so busy are the teams chatting amongst themselves in Parc Fermé that they are not heading for the podium, which is frustrating, but it is one of those things, especially as the Parc Fermé area is a long way from the podium at Oulton Park. Well done then to Nick White as the race winner. 2 more races for the Ginetta GT Academy coming up on Monday here from Oulton Park, and 1 further Ginetta race to come today at round about 6 o'clock. For now though, from Oulton Park and the Ginetta GT Academy, it's goodbye.